What's up, everybody? Welcome to PowerTech with your solution engineers. I am Justin McKean here with episode 10, Empower Smarter Education with Unified Insights. We're going to be talking today with our special guest, Tracy. Tracy is a solution strategy director, just like myself and like most other folks that join the show to talk about PowerSchool with us. Tracy, I'll give you a second. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Awesome. Hey, everybody. I'm Tracy McKeown. As Justin said, I'm a Solution Strategy Director for Unified Insights. Worked in education for many, many years, 20 plus years here at PowerSchool, also at a school district, managing data systems and doing what I love, which is leveraging data to help kids and help education.
Excellent. Thank you, Tracy. So if you haven't heard, we talked about empowering smart education with unified insights. Tracy has a great analytics background. What we're here today is to talk about the portion of our unified ecosystem that is called Unified Insights, powered by Hoonuit. When you look at analytics, some of the things that I've seen in my experience, as you all know, I've spent several years in the classroom. My job is telling the PowerSchool story. When I work with districts, there's always data silos or people that are working in bubbles. And the reason that Unified Insights doesn't have a piece of the pie and it goes around the entire component is that we want to unify your data. We want to make sure data silos are broken down so you can cross-analyze things like digital learning analytics with student information system analytics, or maybe look at professional learning, partner that with student learning, and start to figure out where there are gaps and where we want to focus professional development. Those are just some of the things off the top of my head that when you unify data, you really start to change the game and start to make decisions based on what you're seeing versus how maybe your gut is feeling things are going. So the first question I'm going to ask Tracy is, just tell me about Unified Insights. And before I do that, some of you listening might be thinking, well, Justin, I've heard this term Unified Insights before. You absolutely have. PowerSchool really quickly did take about a year and we were marching down our own direction of Unified Insights. Our first version was called Student, where we were looking at SIS information and LMS information, all under the umbrella of Microsoft's Power BI. So in that process, we'd only gotten so far in a year. And what we're hearing from our leadership team is that when they had a chance to buy Hoonuit is also based on Power BI. And we were told that this actually jumped our roadmap ahead 2, 3, maybe even 4 years because of all the work that's already been done. So for those of you that are out there that might have seen or started walking down that old path, I know it's a challenge. An acquisition company, we see those as solution engineers. Remember, we're on the front lines with you all. Some of those adjustments, how they can really cause some confusion. So that's what the show is today. We want to clarify all that information, get you on the same page with us. So Tracy, tell us about Unified Insights powered by Hoonuit. Give us a little bit of the background on how we got to where we are.
Yeah, you bet, Justin. Unified Insights is all about bringing data together into one place and getting it into the hands of educators, making it trustworthy data, making it easy to access, easy to understand. So it enables educators to make these decisions based on fact, just like you said. And there's no doubt that educators know their kids already. But when you're managing a lot of kids, you don't want anything to fall through the cracks. And so that's where the data comes in. It's just making sure that in addition to those relationships that you've built and your interactions with those kids every day, that you also have data to augment the view into what's going into these kids' lives. And so what Unified Insights does is it reaches into all those different data systems that we have in districts. And I worked in a district for years, and I personally manage, I lost count of how many data systems. You might be looking at 20, 30, right? And you think about those poor teachers and principals logging in over here for one test score and over here for another. Well, we're going to unify all that stuff. And it's not just student data. It's, staffing data. When you're a principal and you're trying to put the best teachers in classrooms for your kids, you want to be able to look at some information about the different teachers and align teachers to their strengths to make sure that kids have the best teachers sitting in front of them in those classrooms. And then being able to, assign student data to that and be able to see, hey, this staff member teaching second grade, what is some really great PD for that staff member to just make them shine even more? And using data to really help you make those decisions. And the other thing is just making it easy, being able to log in quickly and be able to perform all the data tasks that you need to, really quickly. So I don't think about success with the data system as how long you spend in it. I think about it as how long you don't have to spend in it, right? If you can get in there for 5 minutes and answer those 3 key questions that you need answered to help your day better, we have delivered something successful for our educators.
No, it's a great call out. And I think for me, learning the new unified insights as a solution engineer that's been with PowerSchool for 5 years, one of the things that excites me the most is some of these point-to-point conversations we're talking about, professional development, assessment information. When we start to pull the covers back and start to look at what else. So, one of the things that we always see as solution engineers when we're presenting software to either our clients or, prospective net new logos, new people to the PowerSchool network, we always are looking at their strategic vision and where they want to go in the future. But most districts don't know how to measure that because it isn't just something as simple as the assessment score, Tracy, or
That's right.
an LMS point. We can actually bring data together to help you not only get the little things you're looking for, but also have the data to prove to your school board, to prove to your community that the goals and aspirations you're setting as a district are being achieved. And I think that kind of leads us into my next question, Tracy, is, what are some of the offerings? So like, most applications, Unified Insights has a lot of different capabilities and offerings that we can give you. We've got some of the basics, which Tracy will talk about, but then we have some specialties, maybe enrollment analytics, things along those lines. Talk about each of those, if you don't mind, like maybe 30 seconds a piece, just an overview of what's available for schools today.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a really big solution. So it helps to be able to break it down into these really manageable chunks. And I want to start out by saying there's something for everyone throughout the education system. So we like to say from the classroom to the boardroom and to the community, there's dashboards for everyone. And it's using all the same raw data, but it's bringing it together in a way that makes sense for that person's role. And what we do from there is we break it down into these different areas. So we start out with what we call essentials. And that's just that essential data that education needs every single day. I think of the ABCs: attendance, behavior, course outcomes, bring in the test scores, bring in the digital learning analytics, bring in social emotional learning surveys. We've really got to get to that whole child picture, right? Make sure that we're developing every part of the child and the student. And that is essentials. It's all of that stuff that you're probably going to touch on a daily basis. And then the next feature area is what we call Advanced Student Suite. And this leverages some really cool, sophisticated technology, predictive analytics to look across all this data that we're collecting, not just 1 or 2 data points, but 20 or 30 data points. It goes across all those data points to find areas that students need extra support. And here's where technology is really important, because as a human, you cannot do that every day for every kid. So let's leverage this great technology and let's surface for you those kids that we've flagged so that you can then take those students and dig in, find out exactly what interventions they need and supports. The other part of advanced student is at the high school level. Do kids have the right credits to graduate? Are they college ready if that's what they want to do? Are they taking CTE pathways, and how close are they to finishing? And looking at what happens to your students when they do go to college. Did you prepare them successfully? And what are some other things you can do to make sure that your kids really are prepared to go out into the world? Now, the third feature area is Geo-Visual Analytics, and that is more of a business function. So it's looking at what's going on in your community. Is there construction going on? Do you think your enrollment's going to go down? It really helps you plan out to 10 years. How many staff are you going to need next year or in 5 years? What kind of facilities are you going to need? That's a slow process, building schools or merging schools. So it's all the information that you need to make those really good business decisions. And the next piece is called talent and business operations. And that's pulling in that financial data. If you have a goal in your school, in your district, to grow reading scores by 3rd grade, are you putting money into that goal? Are you doing, maybe getting some intervention programs that really support reading? And it's aligning your spending with your initiatives to make sure that students are getting, every penny's worth of those resources that you're spending. And also looking at that staff data again, are you putting the best staff in the best position so everybody can shine? And then the last feature area is community engagement, and that's telling your data story to your community. Shout what you're doing from the rooftops. We know that having strong community involvement in our schools is just so important for our kids. So it's just another way to reach your community. Let them log in every day and see how you're doing against your goals and be able to just feel connected. So that's a really quick overview. It is a big system. There's a lot of depth to each one of those feature areas, but I think that's a really good place for us to start as we talk about them.
Well, absolutely. So for those of you taking notes at home, if you saw me, I was maybe jotting some down myself. There were five different, capabilities, or I should say offerings within Unified Insights. That first one was essentials, right? Just that essential student data, attendance, behavior, courses, assessments, digital learning analytics. Then we talked about the advanced student suite. So it's taking that data and maybe some other data and looking at predictive analytics. Looking at what I love about the college career component of Hoonuit is that it isn't just, hey, are my kids ready to graduate? It's, hey, are we tracking, did they graduate college? What jobs do they have? And then looking back to say, hey, for these groups of kids, what we did worked because 80%, 90% graduated from college, et cetera. So it's not just, again, focused on the today, tomorrow-ish, right? It's today, tomorrow, and 5 years down the road. Then there's that enrollment piece, right? I don't know about any of you. I live in a district where I could drive 1 minute and find a new housing plan. We are a rural district and farmers are selling out like crazy. They're building schools. We're struggling to keep up as my home district. I can't imagine how powerful it will be for them to see 10 years out and start to realign and really be prepared for how we're growing. Talent and business operations, right? Bringing again together the finance, biz ops side with unified talent to make sure we're meeting the needs. And that last one was the one I hinted to earlier, was community engagement, right? Showing to the community, hey, our district goals and initiatives, this is how we're tracking them, and this is how we're meeting. So tell me about, we've talked about, again, all the offerings, Tracy. How do we meet the needs from small schools to large? We work in all different spaces, but smaller schools are generally, they're strapped financially and with staff. So they need something a little more out of the box, where some of you out there that might be that mid-level or large district, you really want to take control of what's going on and have some configured data. So Tracy, how do we meet the needs of all, even though with one offering?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And we really do have something for every level. So we have small districts, we have large districts, we have county offices of ed that act as a hub for other districts, and we have state departments of education. And the software was built for that. It was built to scale up or down in any direction that it needs to go. So if you're a small district out there and you need data, we have out of the box, data loading and dashboards that we can plug in and you can get going right away. If you're a really large district and you have a big IT department and you want to have control, that's fine too. We're going to get you up and running pretty quickly, and we're going to hand you the keys to the kingdom, and you're going to be able to develop everything that you want from there. So there really is an offering for everyone. And one of the reasons that we can do that is we've been at this for a really long time. So we've been operating about 20 years, and we have just built out this enormous tech stack. And of course, we modernize it constantly. It's not 20-year-old technology, it's new technology, but we've learned all of the lessons, along the way on how to make it scalable, how to serve the different levels throughout the education community, and, how to make sure everything that we develop is aligned with education. That's all we do. We just do education. Every item on that roadmap is based on feedback from customers, from small to large, and making sure that everything we do is just for education.
No, so a couple things that Tracy called out here that I want to just reiterate. The first one is the last comment. We're K-12 focused. For you districts out there that are looking to unify your information and this is resonating with you, again, take it from us. We're the experts. We're not here to sell you on Unified Insights. We're here to tell you from our heart how we feel about the applications. And because we're K-12 focused, we're not going to have products that are or roadmaps that are focused on things outside of supporting K-12. So that's a really big deal. The other thing that Carrie mentioned, or that Tracy mentioned, that is now slipping my head, which is why I'm stuttering because I'm struggling to remember it, was we were talking about the scalability component. And one of the things that I have heard so many times over the last 5 years is that, Justin, I am all in on the vision of unifying data. I don't have the time, the money, or the resources. That's where this really comes into play. Tracy was talking about, we've been doing this for 20 years. We have out of the box things that you can turn on, and then maybe in a couple of years, you can start to look. We're really here to support everybody in a way that we can give you things out of the box and you run with them, or we can teach you how to build. So it's that ability. We can also give you the chance, as we did at PowerSchool, to jump 2-3 years in data driven analytics by just looking at an out of the box application, understanding you can take it and configure it. So those are two really key points that I want to just reiterate as we lead into our last question. So Tracy, when we talk about her experience, she was at districts, she worked in implementations as well. And that's how she got to be where she is today, kind of showing what the potentials are in the sales organization. So I wanted to kind of get her thoughts on some successes that she's been a part of over the last several years, what districts or state level contracts she's worked with, and how she being with us at Unified Insights powered by Hoonuit have really helped districts achieve their goals. So Tracy, a couple of stories maybe that you would like to share.
Yeah, I love to talk about this, and I could talk about it all day, but we don't have all day. So I'm just going to pick a couple. But I will say, every district I've worked with, State Department of Ed, county, I've truly loved it. Like, it is my honor to get to go out there and ramp them up on data use. And it's not just about technology, it's about building data culture and helping educators know what to do with that data to make change and make their lives easier. But I'm going to highlight just a couple. And one of them is Hawaii Department of Education. And of course, it's a whole lot of fun to go to Hawaii, but that's not why I'm highlighting
right away. Right away.
Right away.
How beautiful it is, right?
That's right. Right away. That doesn't hurt. But in all truthfulness, I'm just so impressed with what they've accomplished. They've been a customer for about 10 years, and they started out just focusing on an integration story, like, we got to get all this data together, right? And that was heavy in tech, and it was a heavy lift, and we did it. We've got so much data flowing into one place. And once we accomplished that, we shifted gears, and it all became about the educator. Like, what do they need? And needs change over time. And one of the things that's just so impressive about them is how connected they are to those educator needs. We do work groups together, and then we go back and we design new dashboards, and we just make sure there's this information flow from, like, out in the classrooms back to the administration, and all of that feeds in to any development that we do. And usage there has grown exponentially. It started out kind of small, and we just put a lot of effort into that alignment, making sure that it was exactly the data that they needed when they needed it. And they had years where usage would grow 200, 300%. And I think that's just amazing, because they started out understanding that this is a technology, implementation, and they very quickly shifted into what's really important. And that's just delivering the right tools for educators. Now, that's a very large implementation, right? You might be thinking, hey, that's all great, but I don't have the resources of a State Department of Education, and I don't live on a beautiful island either. So there's another district in Northern California that I just was so impressed with. They were small and agile, and they didn't have a lot of resources. And so they really leaned on our great services team, right? And they took kind of a different pathway in that, we can't really hire a person to manage this. So they engaged our services team for like a set amount every year, and they just worked hand in hand with us to do that same kind of alignment. They rearranged dashboards to fit their business practices. They didn't go out and say, teachers, you need to use this the way we have it. They said, hey, teachers, how do you need to use this? And then we rearranged things, we renamed things, we changed dashboards to make sure that the software fit in to the tasks that they needed to accomplish. And I was just so impressed with how they were able to do so much with so little resources. And they were just always so focused on, data as an enablement tool, not just another piece of software. And it's just been absolutely my pleasure to be able to go into these organizations and be part of that process.
No, thanks so much, Tracy. As we conclude the show, you hear us talk a lot about different things. We talk change management, different applications. When you look at student information systems, they're all similar. LMSs, they have similar capabilities. Tracy and I get super pumped about this because we provide you things out of the box, but you can also take it and paint your own picture. If anyone's wondering, my Bob Ross photo behind me here, he's one of my inspirations as a young kid growing up. Just the ability to understand that the world is your canvas. And when you are looking at school data, most districts have not had a chance to take advantage of that. And we're going to provide that opportunity with looking at data and unifying information across your ecosystem. So I want to thank Tracy again so much for taking time to join us today. As always, please make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so that you're always kept up to date. We're pushing shows out about every couple of weeks. We'd love to get some feedback. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like. Maybe there's topics you'd like to know about PowerSchool that you don't want to read a marketing flyer on, right? You want to hear from the solution engineers how we feel about it. And we're honest. We tell you when we're upset, we tell you when we're frustrated, but when we're excited about stuff, you're going to be able to see it and feel it as well. So again, thank you all so much for your time. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.